the molecule controlling how fast you age. There is a molecule inside every single cell of your body that determines how fast you age, how much energy you have, how well your muscles work, and how clearly you think. And if you are over 60, your levels of this molecule have dropped by anywhere from 40 to 70% compared to when you were in your 30s. That is not a small decline. That is a biological cliff your body has been quietly falling off for years, and nobody told you it was happening. What I am about to share with you today could genuinely change how you feel every single morning when you wake up, because there is a specific form of vitamin B3 that clinical research has confirmed can raise this molecule back up. And the results researchers are seeing in older adults are remarkable enough that laboratories from Harvard to Wake Forest University are paying very close attention. I am Dr. James Harrove. I have spent over 30 years in cardiovascular and internal medicine, working with adults over 60. And today I am going to show you exactly what this molecule is, why it matters so much at your age, and precisely how to start taking it this week. If you have not subscribed to this channel yet, please do it right now, because every single week I share the latest evidence-based health research translated into practical guidance designed specifically for seniors. Your doctor does not have time to explain most of this in a 15-minute appointment. I do. Now, let me explain what is actually happening inside your body. The molecule at the center of all of this is called NAD+. It stands for nicotinamide adenine nucleotide. I know that is a mouthful, but what it does is remarkably simple to understand. Your body produces NAD+ naturally, and it plays a role in over 400 enzymatic processes. Every cell in your body depends on it. Your mitochondria, the tiny power generators inside each of your cells, cannot produce energy. What is NAD+ and why it matters? Without adequate NAD+, your DNA repair systems, ones that fix the daily damage accumulating in your genetic material, run on NAD+, the proteins that regulate inflammation, sleep cycles, and metabolic function all require it. Think of NAD+ as the electrical current running through your body's entire wiring system. When the current drops, systems start to fail slowly, quietly, in ways that are easy to blame on simply getting older. Here is the part that surprises most people. Research published in Cell Metabolism and validated across multiple institutions has shown that NAD+ levels in human tissues drop by roughly 50% between the ages of 40 and 60. By your late 70s, some tissues are running at only 30% of what they had decades earlier. This is documented biology, not speculation, and it explains an enormous amount. The fatigue that does not improve no matter how much you sleep. The muscle weakness that seems to appear. Symptoms of NADP depletion, fatigue, fog, weakness, gradually with no clear cause. The mental fog on days when nothing particularly stressful is happening. The joints that ache more than they should. The sleep that never feels restorative. These are not inevitable features of aging. They are in significant part symptoms of NAD+ depletion, and they can be addressed. Before I tell you exactly how, I want you to do something right now. Drop a comment below with your age and one symptom you have been chalking up to getting older. Whether it is fatigue, brain fog, muscle weakness, poor sleep, or anything else, I genuinely want to see what this community is dealing with, because I think the patterns will tell us something important. The vitamin that addresses NAD+ depletion is called nicotinamide riboside, the specific B3 form nicotinamide riboside. You may not recognize that name, and that is completely understandable. Most people have never heard of it. It is a specific form of vitamin B3, but it is not the standard niacin you might find in a multivitamin. Here is the critical difference. Standard niacin must take a long, inefficient metabolic route before it can raise NAD+. Nicotinamide riboside enters your cells through specialized transporters and converts to NAD+ through a much shorter, more direct pathway. It works faster. It is absorbed more efficiently, and critically, it does not cause the uncomfortable skin flushing that makes many people stop taking regular high-doses niacin altogether. Let me tell you about Edward's story. 74. Bone-deep exhaustion for 4 years. Edward. Edward was 74 years old, a retired engineer, and had been dealing with what he described as bone-deep exhaustion for about 4 years. His thyroid was normal, his iron was normal, his vitamin B12 was normal. His doctor told him it was simply the natural progression of aging, and that he should try to pace himself and accept it. Edward started taking 300 milliliters of nicotinamide riboside each morning with breakfast. Within 5 weeks, he noticed something he had not felt in years. He was completing his entire morning routine, walking the dog, making breakfast, reading the paper without needing to sit down and rest halfway through. Within 3 months, his inflammatory markers, specifically his C-reactive protein levels, had measurably decreased. His doctor called the improvement unexpected. The research would call it predictable. Here is where the clinical evidence stands right now, because I want you to understand this is not fringe science or supplement industry marketing. This is peer-reviewed research from major medical institutions. A 2024 study published in the journal Geroscience, conducted by researchers at Wake Forest Clinical Evidence. Wake Forest University 2024. University School of Medicine ran a randomized placebo-controlled trial of nicotinamide riboside in older adults with mild cognitive impairment. Their findings confirmed that NR supplementation safely and measurably raised NAD+ blood levels in twin study, muscle mitochondria regeneration participants. A 2023 twin study published in Science Advances found that nicotinamide riboside improved muscle mitochondrial biogenesis. That means the muscle cells were getting better at generating energy. The study also found positive changes in muscle satellite cells, which are the cells responsible for repairing and regenerating muscle tissue. That is profoundly significant for any senior dealing with gradual muscle loss, which doctors call sarcopenia, and which affects nearly 40% of adults over 65. But here is what I find most remarkable about the recent research. A pilot randomized controlled trial published in Geroscience in 2025 studied sedentary adults over the age of 55 who had elevated blood pressure. When nicotinamide riboside supplementation was combined with regular aerobic exercise, the combination produced measurably better results than exercise alone. This tells us something critically important about how this molecule works. It amplifies the benefits of healthy lifestyle choices rather than replacing them. It makes everything else you are doing for your health work better. Now, let me explain why this matters even more than you might think. NAD+ is directly responsible for activating a class of sirtuins, the longevity proteins that go dormant, proteins called sirtuins. Researchers sometimes refer to these as longevity proteins. Sirtuins regulate how your cells respond to stress. They oversee inflammation pathways. They manage DNA repair. When NAD+ is depleted, sirtuins essentially go dormant. They cannot do their job. Your cells accumulate damage faster than they can repair it. When you restore adequate NAD+ through supplementation, those proteins wake back up. They become active again. Research supported by the National Institute on Aging has shown that certain activation is associated with several favorable cellular aging markers. This is the biological mechanism behind why the results in some of these clinical trials have been described by researchers as more significant than initially expected. Brain health and NAD+ depletion. What about brain health specifically? Your neurons are among the most energy-hungry cells in your entire body, and they are particularly vulnerable to NAD+ depletion. A 2023 study published in Aging Cell found that oral nicotinamide riboside supplementation raised NAD+ levels and also lowered certain biomarkers of neurodegenerative pathology. The researchers were clear that this does not establish NR as a treatment for Alzheimer's disease, but maintaining adequate NAD+ appears to support the biological conditions under which the aging brain can function and repair itself more effectively. Let me Gloria's story. Muscle recovery at 71. Tell you about Gloria. Gloria was 71 and had watched her grip strength and walking pace decline steadily over 2 years. Her physical therapist had told her that age-related muscle loss was simply progressing and that maintaining current function would be a realistic goal. Gloria added nicotinamide riboside to a light resistance training routine she was already doing 3 times a week. After 12 weeks, Her functional strength assessments improved meaningfully enough that her therapist revised the goal from maintenance to modest recovery. Gloria told me she felt like someone had turned a dimmer switch back up inside her body. A 2025 systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Journal of Sexia, Sarcopenia, and muscle-analyzed randomized controlled trials of NR and NMN supplementation in adults over 60 and found evidence of positive effects on physical performance, particularly when supplementation was combined with exercise. That is Gloria's experience reflected in the published science. Now, let me give you the exact protocol so you know precisely what to do. The starting dose supported by most clinical, the exact protocol, 300 milliliters daily. Trials in older adults is 300 milliliters of nicotinamide riboside per day. Some trials have used 500 to 1,000 milliliters with acceptable safety profiles, but I recommend starting at 300 milliliters and staying there for at least the first 8 weeks before considering any adjustment. Take it in the morning with breakfast. NAD+ is involved in cellular energy production, so evening supplementation can occasionally interfere with sleep in sensitive individuals. Taking it with food also reduces the chances of mild nausea, which is the most commonly reported side effect and is usually temporary. When you purchase this, look specifically for products labeled nicotinamide riboside chloride, or those what to look for when buying, True Niagen, using the branded ingredient True Neoin. This is the form used in the majority of published clinical trials, and it has the strongest evidence base. Look for third-party testing on the label. You want to see USP-verified, NSF certified, or informed sports certification marks. These tell you that what is in the bottle actually matches what the label claims. Expect to pay between $30 and $50 for a month's supply of a quality product. Plan to take this consistently for a minimum of 8 to 12 weeks before evaluating results. Energy and sleep improvements may appear in the first 4 to 6 weeks. Muscle function and inflammatory marker improvements typically require longer-term supplementation. This is not a supplement where you try it for 2 weeks and make a judgment. Give it time. Before starting, please speak with your physician, especially if you take any blood thinners, chemotherapy agents, or immunosuppressant medications. Nicotinamide riboside has an excellent safety profile in healthy older adults across the clinical literature, but your doctor needs to know what you are taking. One final point that could make the difference between good results and exceptional results. Nicotinamide riboside works better in context. Pair it with regular physical activity, particularly any resistance training, and aim for adequate protein intake, at least 1.2 g of protein per kilogram of body weight each day. These are not optional extras. They are the biological partners that allow what NR does at the cellular level to translate into real functional improvements you can actually feel in your daily life. NAD+ decline is one of the most consistently documented hallmarks of biological aging, and nicotinamide riboside is the most clinically studied, safest, and most your action plan accessible way to address it. 300 milligrams each morning, a quality third-party tested product, and at least 8 to 12 weeks of consistent use. Comment below and tell me which symptom you have been blaming on aging. Fatigue, brain fog, muscle weakness, poor sleep. I read every single comment. If this video gave you something valuable, share it with someone over 60 who deserves to know that what they are feeling is not inevitable. Subscribe for more evidence-based health guidance every single week. I am Dr. James Harrove. Take care of yourself because you deserve to feel well.